As we reflect on the first anniversary of the war in Gaza, we aim to discuss its profound effects on health and humanitarian conditions, as well as the role of politicians in this crisis. We are honored to speak with Manuel Hassassian, the ambassador of Palestine to Denmark, who joins us now from Copenhagen. Thank you, Ambassador, for joining us. Now,
Thank you.
let's begin with the recent escalation in Gaza and the West Bank. Can you share your perspective on what has led to this surge in violence?
Well, actually, the escalation has been continuously growing more and more as the time passes. And today we are witnessing the paramount of this escalation and this onslaught against our innocent people in Gaza. This carnage is a badge of dishonor on the international community that is allowing still Israel to go ahead with its butchery against the Palestinian people with impunity. For us, 1 year of suffering such heavy casualties, especially when you talk about 16 to 17,000 children, let alone 8,000 women, and the rest are elderly, epitomizes best the brutality of the occupation and of Israel's systematic policy of trying to flatten Gaza and decimate the entire nation by forcefully diasporizing them into the Sinai Desert. That's the intention of Israel, is to get rid of the demography and control the geography as buffer zone, allegedly for its own security reasons.
Ambassador, now obviously what's happening on the ground has been taking a discourse of force and military action. How do you think we can bring back the political file just on the table? How can we talk politically and diplomatically to address the current situation?
Well, actually, as long as the aggression continues and with the escalation of Israel, and Israel is trying basically not to pay heed to the international community as a kind of pressure to stop this carnage and try more or less to abide by the international rule and international law, nothing is going to happen. And it is so unfortunate that the United States, which is complicit with that of Israel in conducting this war against our people, we will never go back to the negotiating table. And as long as Israel is procrastination, the process of signing a deal with Hamas on the release of hostages and the cessation of aggression against our people, there is no talk about diplomatic engagement or negotiations and what have you. So Israel is buying time in trying to cleanse and buying time in trying basically to break the will of Hamas and all the resistance movement in Gaza. It is having an open check from the United States to do so.
Talking about the U.S. ambassador, now there have been reports, and I'm sure you've seen that, there have been reports talking about the disagreement between the White House and the Israeli government, a disagreement regarding the current situation right now, the aggression, the type of force that's been used, and the probable actions that Israel is going to take or could take in the coming days. What do you think of these reports?
Well, listen, actually, today President Biden is a lame duck, and the Democrats are now preparing for another round of elections. Trump is trying more or less to come back to the political scene. Now, this is a dead end. This is an era between now and the elections, let alone 100 days by the elections. The American administration cannot make any decisions that will have any kind of political weight domestically or internationally. So when we talk about, the position of Biden, he has been telling Israel, stop the aggression basically in southern Lebanon, try to open humanitarian assistance for the people in Gaza and what have you. Did Netanyahu pay any heed? No. Netanyahu is continuing with his strategic policy of exterminating the Palestinians and to gain as much as possible the grounds for reoccupation of Gaza and that of the West Bank. And the intention is to change the configuration of the geography in Palestine in order to fit exactly the mentality and the strategy of the settlers in the West Bank, let alone using Gaza as a buffer zone for security reasons, and that of southern Lebanon with Hezbollah. So all these remarks, all these reports did nothing. For the last 3 months, Biden has been, giving reports and telling the Israelis you should stop the war. Let's go back to the negotiation table. Let's open the borders of Rafah. Let's have humanitarian assistance. Did the Israelis respond positively? No, because they
That's
know
very alarming,
that.
Ambassador, because if the pressure card of the United States on Israel is lost and Israel is disregarding any kind of statements from the international community or pressure from the international community now, what can change the discourse right now? What can apply pressure on Israel to ceasefire, to change the strategy right now?
Europe should take a stand. Countries should take a stand against Israel. They should start boycotting Israel, and they should start trying to fire all their ambassadors and try to bring Israel to the International Court of Justice. That's the only way. I don't see the Americans will budge an inch not to help the Israelis in their carnage and in their onslaught against the Palestinian people. The Europeans should wake up. They should start, cutting relationship on bilateral and not waiting for the European Union to take a certain stand that is rhetorically invalid and to a certain extent hapless and helpless when it comes to pressures against Israel. If the international community does not move on a bilateral level to boycott Israel as a country that is an apartheid country, there is nothing going to change on the ground. And the biggest price that will be paid by the Palestinian people and nobody else.
Now, I'm sure you've heard Josep Borrell, the Vice President of the European Commission, talking about the situation and the pressure on Israel and answering questions about what can the EU do. And he said many, many times that the EU has limited options when it comes to pressure on Israel. What do you think of that?
Listen, the EU can say whatever they want. Josep Borrell can say whatever he wants. First of all, Josep Borrell is persona non grata as far as the Israelis are concerned. Guterres is persona non grata as far as Israel is concerned. The Americans are trying basically to bolster the position of the Israelis. Now, all these reports, all these sayings that come out from Josep Borrell, Guterres, and what have you, it's insignificant for the Israelis. So there is no pressure. As long as the EU does not take a firm stand of boycotting and hitting the Israelis in their pocket, which means economically, nothing is going to change, my friend. All these political statements, reports, allegations, and what have you are not going to the situation on the ground.
Okay. Now, Ambassador, what is the role of the Palestinian leadership now in addressing all of these challenges?
Well, the Palestinian leadership has been, helping as much as they can Gaza economically. We have been bearing and shouldering the responsibility of all the expenses that Gaza went through before October 7th and after October 7th. 59% of our budget goes to Gaza. Now, as far as the Palestinian Authority is concerned, look at our president in all his speeches, in all his travels, bilaterally, meeting world leaders. What is he asking? Cessation of conflict. Let's have humanitarian assistance. And then we are willing, ready, basically, to shoulder our responsibility of controlling back Gaza with the help of the international community. My president asked to go to Gaza, and he was not allowed to go to Gaza with all the pressures that the international community has put on. What do you expect from us to do?
Right. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Ambassador Manuel Hassassian, the ambassador of Palestine to Denmark, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us on Q News.